Hello and welcome to this video where I'm going to talk about dinosaur nests from Spain and Korea. What I'm going to do is briefly describe the evidence and then discuss some possible interpretations of that evidence. First of all, I would like to talk about this paper which was published in 2004 describing dinosaur egg-bearing deposits from a place in Korea. Here we have what are described as Upper Cretaceous sediments containing dinosaur eggs. If you are an evolutionist, these sediments would be 60 million years old based on current evolutionary assumptions. However, if you are a creationist, you might consider these to be deposited late in the flood based on the most popular creationary assumptions. And here we have clutches of eggs in 6 horizons of mudstone and sandy mudstone. These deposits are believed to have been formed by a river delta and are called terminal fan deposits. The eggs are preserved in what are called paleosols, in other words, fossil soil. These deposits are consistent with semi-arid conditions. There are no marine fossils in these deposits, so they are interpreted as being continental deposits. The eggs are found buried 5 to 10 centimeters below the actual flood deposits which have preserved them, and this is consistent with dinosaurs excavating nests and laying their eggs in these excavated nests, much like some reptiles do today. There's also evidence of site fidelity. In other words, the dinosaurs returned to this site at least 6 times in the same location. The second paper I'd like to talk about is one published in 2012 which describes dinosaur eggs found in Spain, in a place called Col de Nargo. Here we have thousands of dinosaur eggs in 30 levels across 370 meters of Upper Cretaceous deposits from 2 main stratigraphic units. And once again, these eggs are found in what are called paleosols. And there's evidence of extensive bioturbation in this fossil soil. In other words, plants have been growing in it and creatures have been burrowing in it, and this causes a mix-up of the layers. Here we have again successive continental strata with dinosaur egg clutches. In other words, the dinosaur eggs are in groups. And there appears to be 3 different types of dinosaur egg, or 3 different eutaxa, as they are described in the literature. So here we have what appears to be a shared nesting area with repeat use of the same site. In other words, dinosaurs are returning time and time again to lay their eggs in the same place. So in summary, what do we find? We have egg clutches, we have evidence of excavation of nests, and we have various different layers containing the eggs. And this evidence is also found all over the world. For example, in North and South America. There's been reports also in Russia and reports in India and other places. And all these deposits are considered to be continental deposits. In other words, we've got arid or semi-arid conditions and not marine conditions. So there are some questions that we can ask about this evidence. For example, when did these deposits form? Was it millions of years ago or thousands of years ago? How long did they take to form? And what is the best explanation for the evidence we find in these deposits? If you take the old Earth view and you are an evolutionist, you would consider the late Cretaceous to be around 60 to 70 million years ago. And these deposits would have been formed during episodic periods of flooding as sea levels rose and fell during the Cretaceous. The rising and falling sea levels would have caused deposition and preservation of the eggs. But there are some challenges for the evolutionary model. For example, there are many reports in the literature of unfossilized dinosaur tissue. Also, dinosaur proteins and other biomolecules have been recovered. And then there are eyewitness accounts of dinosaurs. Of course, they weren't called dinosaurs, people refer to them as dragons. So an alternative view is the young age creation view based upon a model of flood geology. According to this view, Cretaceous deposits were formed during the later stages of the flood of Noah. This model requires the pre-flood dinosaurs to have survived the onset of the flood and to have survived for about 150 days into the flood. The idea here was that dinosaurs grounded on freshly deposited, briefly exposed Cretaceous sediment, and then they dropped their eggs as the flood waters returned. This model is called the briefly exposed diluvial sediment model, or BEDS for short. However, I would like to suggest that there are some problems for the BEDS model. First of all, according to the Bible, the onset of the flood was very catastrophic. Events occurred which have never been repeated since, which resulted in the destruction of all life, and I would suggest the biblical text is very consistent with the idea that nothing survived outside of the ark on land for more than 40 days, and probably actually were wiped out even sooner. If you subscribe to the BEDS model, you have to explain what the dinosaurs ate while they were swimming around for 150 days, leaving aside the problem of whether or not a dinosaur can keep swimming for 150 days. Then you have the problem of unconsolidated sediments. The idea here is that the floodwaters moved aside for a short period of time, uncovering freshly deposited sediments on which the dinosaurs could lay their eggs. But these sediments would have been unconsolidated, and it's unlikely that any creatures would be able to land and deposit their eggs on them. There are other challenges for the BEDS model. For example, the eggs are found in multiple layers, and the evidence is consistent with site reuse. This is very unlikely to happen in the BEDS model. There is time required for soil formation and bioturbation. There are some eggs which are found which actually contain ready-to-hatch embryos, and again this requires a considerable amount of time, which is not available in the flood model because the eggs would have been deposited and then covered very quickly, and nothing would have survived within the eggs because of lack of oxygen. Also, there are no body fossils associated with these nests, and that is not consistent with the BEDS model, which has the sediments covered very quickly once the dinosaurs have laid their eggs. And there would be very little time for dinosaurs to walk away and escape the rising waters as they returned. So I would like to suggest to you an alternative model, which I'm calling the young age creation post-flood model. And here the idea is that dinosaurs that we find fossilized in the rocks were descended from ancestors coming off the Ark of Noah, and they came off the Ark of Noah before the Cretaceous sediments were formed. Once off the Ark, there would have been a rapid explosion in the dinosaur population. We would also expect rapid diversification as dinosaurs moved into new environments caused by what is called the founder effect. So dinosaurs occupied favourable ecological niches, which would have been semi-arid warm climate areas, often in river valleys and also coastal areas. At the same time, various tectonic activities going on at the end of the flood would have caused the rising and falling of sea levels. At the same time, there would have been local flooding and alluvial deposits laying down sediment which covered the eggs. So in summary, the alternative creationary explanation I would like to propose means that only dinosaurs on Noah's Ark survived. The animals left the Ark during the period called the Triassic, in other words, as the Triassic sediments were being deposited as the floodwaters drained off the Earth. There would have been rapid diversification of the dinosaurs during the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods. So the eggs laid by the dinosaurs, which we find in these layers of rocks, were from dinosaurs which descended from the dinosaurs leaving the Ark of Noah. And this would require a creationary timescale of several centuries. So thank you for watching this video, and I hope you found it helpful.